My dear child, you keep wondering if you're missing something, some moment, some signal, some voice from heaven that will make everything inside you finally settle. But nothing settles, does it? Not really. Even when the room is quiet, your heart isn't. You sense the weight of something rising, something growing under the surface. And yet, every time you feel that divine pressure building, you second guess whether it's me or just your imagination. You don't say it aloud, but the thought crosses your mind more than you admit. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe this stirring inside is just restlessness, not calling. You've become so careful, so afraid of getting it wrong, that you've started to mistrust even the holy restlessness I myself have placed in your spirit. The thing is, this restlessness isn't random. It's a sign, a holy agitation. You've asked me to use you, but you've also expected me to remove all doubt. Before I do, you've asked for me to open the door, but only if I also remove every unknown behind it. Child, that's not how I've ever moved with the ones I love. Moses didn't feel ready when I called his name from the burning bush. He protested, stuttered, and listed all the reasons I should send someone else. But I didn't choose Moses because he felt prepared. I chose him because I prepared him through the wilderness. I chose him because he was willing, even when he was afraid. And that's what I see in you too. Fear, yes, but willingness beneath it. A trembling hope that still whispers, "Use me, Lord, if you still want to." Let me say it clearly, I do still want to. I haven't changed my mind. The tug in your heart is not self-created. I authored that longing. I planted it when no one was looking. It grew quietly while you were still recovering from the last season. I didn't wait for you to finish your healing to start whispering your purpose again, because sometimes I use the calling to finish the healing. You thought I was waiting for you to become confident, but what I was really waiting for was your surrender. There's a subtle prison the enemy built around you. It doesn't look like chains or sin, it looks like wisdom. It sounds like maybe later. It hides behind language like stewardship, responsibility, and preparation. But underneath it, fear reigns. Fear of being wrong. Fear of starting too soon. Fear of disappointing me. Fear of being disappointed by me. So you delay, not out of rebellion, but out of hesitation. And I want to call that hesitation out gently, but clearly. I never asked for your perfection. I asked for your trust. Readiness was never about what you feel. It was always about who you're with. You're not stepping into something alone. You're stepping with me. And I never call someone out without also going before them. The path may be uncertain, but my presence is not. And if you'll let go of needing to feel certain before you obey, you'll finally begin to see just how much I've already set in motion on your behalf. You've sensed it, haven't you? The shift in the atmosphere, the way your spirit leans in a little more when certain conversations happen, how even the words of others now sound like confirmations rather than coincidences. I've been surrounding you with signs, not to overwhelm you, but to remind you. I've been preparing you all along, not just through the sermons you've heard or the scriptures you've memorized, but through the dark places where no one was watching, through the nights you held on to me when nothing made sense, through the disciplines you built when no one celebrated your consistency, those quiet acts of obedience. They matter more than you know, but now you're at a threshold, and I can't let you stay there forever. Thresholds are only meant to be places of passage, not permanent homes. And that's what this moment is, a divine threshold, a place where comfort must bow to calling, where logic must yield to the spirit, where fear must be named, not obeyed. I know what you're afraid of. You're not just afraid of failing. You're afraid of stepping out and discovering you were never enough to begin with. But let me speak directly to that. You were never meant to be enough alone. That's why I gave you my Spirit. That's why I promised to walk with you, speak through you, strengthen you. The enemy has twisted your humility into passivity and your discernment into delay. But I am untying that lie now. You're not the cautious one. You're not the one who always needs more time. That's not your name. That's not your identity. You are my vessel, my image bearer, my chosen one. And I chose you knowing everything you would doubt. I chose you with full awareness of how many times you'd need reassurance. And still, I call you now. Let me remind you, you've heard me before, you've obeyed before, and you didn't hallucinate my voice back then. Why do you question it now? The same presence that led you out of that last pit is still with you now, leading you into purpose. You haven't missed me. You're not behind. You're just standing on the edge of something new, and your feelings haven't caught up to what's already true. The thing that's burning in your spirit? That's not pressure. It's the weight of glory. You've asked to carry my presence. Well, now it's resting on you, and you're wondering why it feels heavy. My glory always feels heavier than your comfort zone. But it will lift you if you let it lead. So breathe. You're not failing, you're not stalling. You're just waking up to the reality that I've already moved, and now I'm asking you to move with me. You don't need to be fearless to obey. You only need to say yes. The trembling can stay, but let it tremble forward. You're more ready than you feel, and I, the Lord your God, go before you. You've been asking me for clarity, but I've been trying to give you courage. You say, God, just tell me what to do. But I'm not just after your behavior. I'm after your belief system. The problem isn't that you don't hear me. It's that you hear me, and then filter my voice through your unhealed fears. I say you're ready, but you run it through your shame, your past, your need for external validation. And suddenly it doesn't sound like me anymore. It sounds like pressure. It sounds like obligation. It sounds like risk. But I never speak to you like a taskmaster. I speak to you as a father. Let's talk about that filter. Somewhere in your story, calling started to feel like a test you couldn't afford to fail. Somewhere, you began to believe that I only release people into purpose when they have no more weakness left. But that was never my pattern. I called people at the most inconvenient moments. I met prophets in caves and apostles in prison. I anointed David while he was still smelling like sheep and disappointment. Readiness has never meant polish. It has always meant surrender. So here is the spiritual lie I'm exposing in you today. You don't have to feel complete to be commissioned. You've been led to believe that I only use those who feel strong, but my power is made perfect in weakness, not avoided by it. If you're waiting for the fear to go away before you obey me, you'll be waiting the rest of your life. But if you move now, even trembling, that obedience will break the lie that fear gets the final word. You think it's humility to say, I'm not ready. But sometimes that's not humility. It's agreement with fear. And I didn't give you that spirit. I gave you boldness, even if you don't recognize it yet. It's in you. It's been there all along, hidden beneath the pressure to get everything right, buried under the weight of comparison. You don't see it because you've been measuring readiness by someone else's fruit. You've been asking me, why don't I feel like them? But child, you were never called to feel like them. You were called to move like you, in the rhythm we've built together in secret. That's what I love most about you. You don't realize how closely I've watched the way you love me behind closed doors. You think no one notices when you sit in silence, just trying to hear me clearly. But I saw every time you chose the narrow way. I saw the mornings you woke up with nothing but weariness and still whispered my name. I saw you weep when no one came to affirm your value, and still you chose to worship. You thought that season was empty, but I've been storing every drop of oil, and now I'm ready to pour it out. But first, I need to confront the story you've been telling yourself, that if you were truly called, it wouldn't be this hard. That if you were really meant to do this, you'd feel joy all the time, or at least some sense of ease. But purpose often starts with pressure. Fire always comes before fragrance. Don't curse the heat. It's refining you, not rejecting you. You say, but God, what if I fail? Then I'll be with you in the failure. I won't abandon you because something didn't go the way you pictured. I'm not here for your performance. I'm here for your heart. I don't measure success the way the world does. Sometimes success is simply obedience in the face of resistance. Sometimes it's standing when it would be easier to run. And sometimes success is you saying yes when everything in you wants to hide. I didn't call you to perform. I called you to carry. And you've been carrying my presence well, even in the wilderness. That's what makes you ready, not your credentials, not your connections, your character in the hidden place. That's what moved me. Your endurance when no one applauded. That's what qualified you. You keep looking for an outward confirmation, but I've already placed my seal inside of you. The anointing isn't coming later. It's already on you. Now I'm asking you to stop treating it like a seed and start walking like it's a mantle. Let me say something you may not have heard before. I trust you. Yes, I know everything about you, your weakness, your fears, your fragile days. And still, I trust you with this calling, not because you're perfect, but because you're willing to be led. You think it's arrogant to believe you're ready. But what if it's actually obedience to believe what I've already declared over you? You've been asking me, but Lord, what if I'm not enough? And I've been asking you, when did you start believing you had to be? I'm enough for you. I'm enough through you. My grace is the ground you walk on. And grace doesn't demand that you prove yourself. It invites you to walk in the truth of who you already are. So here's what I want you to understand. I'm not calling you because of what you bring to the table. I'm calling you because you belong at the table, because I made a seat for you, because I knew this moment would come, and I wanted your voice to carry something no one else's could. You weren't a backup plan. You weren't a later option. You were always part of the design. And if the enemy has been screaming louder lately, it's because he knows too. He knows what you're carrying. He knows what I've placed in you. And if he can't stop me, he'll try to delay you, but no more. The delay ends now, not just in your circumstances, but in your mindset. I'm breaking agreement with fear. I'm untangling you from the lie that you need more time. I'm rewriting what you call readiness. It's not about ease. It's about alignment, and, child, you're aligned. Let me walk with you out of this fog. Let me speak louder than your uncertainty. Let me remind you, once and for all, that the fire you feel isn't a threat. It's the beginning of your release. Let's go deeper now, beneath your prayers for clarity, beneath your questions about timing, beneath even your fear of failing. Let's go back to where this resistance truly began, because I've seen that it's not just about calling. It's about identity. Somewhere along the line, you started confusing action with acceptance. You believed that if you couldn't do it perfectly, you weren't worthy to carry it at all. And so the delay didn't begin with fear of the future. It began with a fracture in how you see yourself. There was a moment, maybe years ago, maybe in the quiet of this past season, when someone made you feel small for trying. Someone laughed when you dreamed too big. Or they looked past you when you showed up with your whole heart. And something in you started shrinking that day. Not outwardly. You kept serving. You stayed present. But inwardly, you began editing yourself. You convinced yourself it was maturity, but it was actually a wound dressed up as wisdom. And the wound went deep, not because of what they said, but because of how closely it echoed what you already feared, that you weren't enough, that you weren't the type that gets chosen. that people like you need more proof, more training, more time. So you started collecting confirmation like armor. You kept receipts of every word of encouragement, every prophecy, every open door, just in case you needed to prove to yourself again that you were really called. But even with all the confirmation, the ache remained. Because the ache was never about the call, it was about your core. You didn't just need direction, you needed healing. And I've been doing that, even in ways you didn't recognize. Every moment you sat with me in silence, thinking nothing was happening, I was reaching into the places your words couldn't access. I was touching the trauma of being overlooked. I was softening the voice of self-sabotage that grew louder every time you tried to step forward. You're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. You're not disobedient. You're protecting yourself from disappointment. And I see that. I see the armor you wear, even when you pray. I see the guarded way you ask me for direction, as if you're bracing for a no. But child, I've already said yes, and I'm not changing my mind. Let me say what no one said when they should have. You didn't deserve to be dismissed. You weren't wrong for being passionate. You weren't weak for needing affirmation. You weren't too much. You were just misunderstood. And the enemy used those misunderstandings to build a system of delay in your spirit. He whispered lies like, "It's safer not to try," and "If it's really from God, it will come without pressure." But that's not how I trained my children. That's not how I trained Joseph in prison, or Esther in silence, or Jeremiah when he said, "I am only a youth." You're not disqualified by how long it's taken to get here, but I need you to stop calling delay preparation when it's really fear. I need you to stop naming your self-protection as discernment. You've already been prepared more than you know. Not by strategy, but by struggle. Not by status, but by staying with me when no one else stayed. That's where I did the real work, in the secret place, in the quiet decision to keep showing up even when you felt unseen. That faithfulness wasn't wasted. I counted every tear, every question, every hour of waiting. I haven't missed a thing. And now I'm gently uncovering the lie that formed in that waiting. The lie that said, "I have to feel strong before I move." That lie has kept you bowing to emotion instead of stepping in faith. But emotion is not your master, and fear is not your filter. I never said you had to silence every doubt before obeying. I only asked you to trust me more than the doubt. You've given fear a microphone for too long. Let me reclaim the stage in your spirit. It's okay to admit that you've been scared. That's not rebellion. That's honesty. And honesty is where healing begins. I'm not pushing you. I'm drawing you. There's a difference. Pressure says, "Do this or else." But I say, "Come with me." There's more. I'm not rushing you. I'm releasing you. And there's a holy difference. This next part of your life doesn't require a new version of you. It requires the real you, the one you buried under caution, the one who loved me boldly before the world told you to tone it down, the one who still burns inside you. Quiet, but not gone. Let's bring that part of you to the surface again. Let's walk back to the moment you stopped trusting your fire and started idolizing your fear. Let's reclaim that territory. That part of your heart still belongs to me. You haven't disqualified yourself, and what you carry hasn't expired. The calling didn't fade just because your confidence did. I can restore confidence. I can renew clarity. But I never needed you to feel perfect. I only ever needed you to stay close. And you've stayed close even in your questions, even in your fatigue, even in your doubt. You never left me, even when you thought I had gone quiet. I see the loyalty of your love. I see the ache of your longing. And I see your readiness even when you don't. You are not where you started. You are not the same as you were. And though you still feel fragile, I'm telling you now, you're being made strong in all the right places, not to impress anyone, not to outperform anyone, but to withstand the weight of what I'm about to place in your hands. I'm making you ready in your roots, not just your resume. And if you'll let me continue to confront the lies, gently, truthfully, you'll feel something shift inside, not suddenly louder or bolder, just freer. You're ready not because you feel brave. You're ready because you're finally ready to stop hiding. You may not realize it yet, but things have already started shifting. You keep waiting for a dramatic breakthrough, some kind of spiritual spotlight that announces the beginning of your next chapter. But I rarely work through spectacle. I move in the small signs first. I move through the nudges you almost dismiss, through the people I've placed near you who keep repeating the same truth you've been afraid to believe, through the closed doors you didn't expect, and the unexpected openings that made your heart beat faster for reasons you still can't explain. Those are not coincidences. That's me. That's movement. That's the cloud beginning to shift above your tent. That's the river changing direction beneath your feet. I'm already redirecting your path, even before your mind fully catches up to what's happening in your spirit. You've been wondering why your peace has started feeling conditional, why the things that once comforted you now feel constricting. It's because I'm loosening your grip on the familiar to make room for the fulfilled. Some of what's draining you right now isn't even about spiritual warfare. It's the exhaustion of trying to stay in a place I'm already leading you out of. You've outgrown certain patterns, certain relationships, certain versions of yourself. And that doesn't mean you're prideful. It means you're being transformed. That inner resistance you feel isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign that your old container can't hold what I'm pouring in. It's the tension of transition, and it's holy. You've been craving clarity, but I've been giving you confirmation instead. Think back. Haven't you noticed how often your spirit gets stirred in moments that seem random? How many times I've echoed the same word, the same image, the same message, through different people and places? That's not repetition. That's rhythm. That's me, aligning your hearing to my heart. You're not confused. You're just waking up to the frequency of your calling. And listen, I haven't just been preparing the path for you. I've been preparing you for the path. Some of the isolation you felt wasn't punishment. It was positioning. I pulled you away from certain distractions, not because they were evil, but because they were too loud. I needed to teach you to hear me again, without the noise. And now that you've learned that sacred stillness, I'm beginning to guide you with new clarity, not louder but deeper. Not with answers that calm every fear, but with instructions that pull your faith forward. So look closer. There are already signs of breakthrough. That opportunity you dismissed as too soon, I placed it there. That conversation that stirred your courage, I orchestrated it. That heaviness lifting slowly off your shoulders. That's the beginning of liberation. You keep expecting to feel a lightning bolt of confidence, but sometimes confidence arrives like morning light. Slow, soft, unstoppable. Even the way you're beginning to pray again, less out of desperation, more out of expectation, that's a shift. You may not have noticed it, but I have. I hear the difference. I see your heart opening again to the idea that this might actually be your time. And child, it is. Not because you've mastered anything, but because I've decided it's time. Don't underestimate what I'm doing, just because it doesn't feel dramatic. The kingdom rarely announces itself with fireworks. It comes like yeast in the dough, like a seed in the soil, like a whisper in the dark. It comes quietly, but it changes everything. And it's coming now, for you. Even the inner conflicts you've been wrestling with lately are evidence of growth. When your soul starts rejecting what used to satisfy, that's not confusion. It's conviction. When your dreams start resurfacing without you forcing them, that's not nostalgia. It's the wind of my spirit breathing on dormant places. And when your tears come faster now, without clear reason, that's not weakness. That's breakthrough working its way up from your depths. Let yourself feel it. Don't shut it down. These are the labor pains of becoming, and I'm with you in every contraction. I'm not watching from afar. I'm right here. Hands on your shoulders, breath in your lungs, voice in your spirit. You're not just standing still anymore. Even if your feet haven't moved, your heart has. And that, child, is the first miracle. Do you know what readiness really looks like? In my kingdom, it looks like a heart that trembles and still says yes. It looks like someone who no longer needs everything to make sense before they move. It looks like Yahweh, standing in the in-between, holding my promise with one hand and your doubts with the other, and still choosing to take one more step. You've been braver than you realize. Obedience in obscurity is one of the highest forms of courage, and you've been walking in it, quietly, faithfully, consistently, and now I'm about to make visible what has been growing in secret. My favor is moving toward you. My wind is catching your sails. My voice is rising within you. You're not stuck. You're shifting. And everything in the spirit is responding to that shift. Doors are preparing to open. Resources are preparing to move. Hearts are being softened in places you haven't even reached yet. You're walking into alignment, not just with my timing, but with your truest identity, the one I saw when I formed you, the one I've been calling forth through every delay, every battle, every dry season. So take courage, not because it's easy, but because it's time. Let's talk now about how this becomes real, not just spiritual, not just emotional, but tangible. I want you to feel this truth in your bones, not just your spirit. You've carried enough frustration trying to live two realities at once. The one where you hear my promises, and the one where you feel bound by limitations. But now it's time for those realities to merge. It's time for the truth of my voice to shape the rhythm of your life. Let's begin with your body. You've been walking around tense, bracing yourself, even on the days when nothing seems wrong. Your shoulders stay raised, your breath stays shallow, your energy feels thin. This isn't just fatigue. This is your body reacting to a soul that's been trying to hold back the river. But you weren't made to carry this weight alone. I didn't ask you to hold the whole vision in your strength. That's why I gave you my spirit, to empower, not exhaust you. It's time to align your body with what I'm doing in your spirit. Rest isn't weakness. Pausing isn't rebellion. Even Jesus pulled away from the crowds to be with me, not once, often. You've treated exhaustion as an inconvenience to be managed instead of a signal to be honored. But I designed your limits as part of your design. They're not proof of failure. They're evidence that you were meant to walk in rhythm, not in striving. So today, slow your breath. Breathe like someone who is no longer in survival mode. Breathe like someone who is safe in my presence. Because you are. And now your time. There's a recalibration happening here. You've been trying to fit your calling into your schedule instead of letting me reorder your schedule around your calling. And that's why it always feels like there's never enough time. You've been giving leftovers to what should be your first fruits. But this isn't about hustle. This is about priority. What you say yes to matters. Every yes is a seed. And some of the fatigue you've been feeling isn't from doing too much. It's from doing what doesn't carry your assignment. Let's shift that. Let's bring your time into alignment with your mission. You don't need to fill every hour to be faithful. You just need to move in the direction I've been pointing. One step, one conversation, one prayer at a time. Start clearing space for what's next. Say no to what numbs you. Say no to what flatters your fears. Say no to anything that drains what I've asked you to pour into others. Now let's speak about your inner rhythm, your spirit. You've been faithful to come to me, even when you felt nothing, and I've seen that. But now I want to teach you how to walk with me, not just run to me when you feel lost. This isn't just about visitation. It's about habitation. I want to dwell in the movements of your day. I want to be the stillness in your transitions, the whisper in your decisions, the peace you carry into rooms that haven't known peace in years. And I want you to stop waiting until the end of the day to process your emotions with me. Invite me into them as they happen. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed to pray. Let your prayer become breath. Let your listening become part of your living. I know there are still days when you wake up heavy, days where the idea of moving forward feels like too much. But that's when I want you to remember, you're not doing this alone. This isn't about willpower. This is about presence. I'm not handing you an assignment and watching from a distance. I'm walking with you, step by step, and I'm not measuring your pace. I'm watching your posture. Even when your movement is slow, your heart is still leaning forward. And that is faithfulness. So here's your instruction for this season. Simplify, not because you're weak, but because you're being refined. Not everything you've carried can come with you into what I'm building next. Make room. Create margin. Give yourself permission to grow slowly. Not every door needs to be opened at once. Not every person needs access to your voice. And not every moment requires your reaction. I'm teaching you to move with intentionality. Not because you're being cautious, but because you're finally walking like someone who knows they are sent. Your gentleness is your new strength. Your discernment is your new authority. Your boundaries are not barriers. They're altars, sacred places that protect the oil I've given you. You've been pouring out on ground that can't hold what you carry. That's why I'm pulling you back, not to isolate you, but to protect what's forming. You're not hiding. You're being held. Don't confuse the quiet of this refining with absence. This is the construction zone of your new movement. I'm rerouting your focus. I'm bringing clarity where confusion used to live. I'm removing distractions not as punishment, but as preparation. You prayed for clarity, and this is what it looks like. It looks like me, pulling your attention away from the noise and back to the still, slow beat of my voice. This next chapter will not be built on adrenaline. It will be built on alignment, and that means honoring your body, submitting your time, and syncing your spirit with me in every step. Not perfectly, but consistently. Gently, confidently. You're not entering this season as someone desperate to prove their worth. You're walking in as someone sent, not driven, and the difference will be felt by everyone around you. You're not just being restored, you're being recommissioned. Your feet may still be catching up, but your spirit already knows. This is holy ground. You've worn so many names that I never gave you, and I know you didn't pick them because you wanted to lie. You picked them because you thought they would help you survive. You became the strong one because no one around you had the space for your weakness. You became the available one because it was the only way you knew how to stay needed. You became the prepared one because somewhere deep down, you believed you had to earn the right to be chosen. But I never asked you to play those roles. I never asked you to shrink your spirit so others would be more comfortable. I never asked you to carry the weight of their silence, their expectations, or even their disappointments. You adapted so you wouldn't be abandoned. You became who the room needed instead of who I made you to be. And I want to tell you now, you can stop performing. You can stop managing people's impressions of you. You can stop earning what was always meant to be given. You are not the strong one, I am. and I never meant for you to be anyone else's savior. I only ever asked you to walk with me. You were never meant to absorb the emotions of everyone around you. That's why you're exhausted. That's why you've been feeling things that aren't even yours. You've been carrying spiritual weight without spiritual permission. But I'm lifting it now, and I'm restoring your soul to its original shape, not the one life squeezed you into, but the one I formed before you were ever misunderstood. I want you to hear this with clarity and kindness. You are not what drained you. You are not what people expected from you. You are not the version of yourself you created just to avoid criticism. You are mine. And before anyone called you reliable, consistent, loyal, before any of those admirable but heavy labels, I called you beloved. I called you free. I called you anointed. Not because of your performance, but because of your identity. Let's go back to who you really are. You are the one who senses my presence even in crowded rooms. The one who asks deeper questions than people are willing to answer. The one who feels burdens before anyone names them out loud. You see and sense, and carry things others don't. And that's not a flaw. It's not too much. It's how I wired you for intercession, for insight, for impact. But that sensitivity was never meant to become a shield. It was meant to be a channel for me to move through. But when it wasn't honored, you hid it. When others didn't understand it, you started treating it like a weakness. And I want you to know, I saw that. I saw the moments when you gave less of yourself, not because you were withholding, but because you were afraid of being seen wrong. And now I'm reclaiming those hidden places. I'm restoring the parts of you that dimmed just to stay in the room. You don't have to do that anymore. The room is changing because you're changing. You don't have to be the one who always holds it together. You don't have to be the reliable friend at the expense of being a present soul. You don't have to be available to everyone in order to be obedient to me. In fact, some of the most sacred obedience in this season will be you saying no, not because you're abandoning people, but because you're finally returning to yourself. To me, I didn't call you to be convenient. I called you to be consecrated, and that means you won't always fit. That means not every relationship will survive your healing. That means some people may not recognize you anymore, but that doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're found. Found in the truth of who I've always seen. Found in the clarity of who I've always been calling. Let me tell you something else. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not invisible. You've been becoming, quietly, patiently, painfully, but faithfully. And now it's time to shed the masks that kept you safe. They served a purpose, but they've become a prison. And I didn't die so you could live halfway alive. I didn't resurrect you just to watch you survive. I called you to be whole, and wholeness starts here, with the courage to walk in your true name again. You are not what they demanded. You are not what they misread. You are not the one who always needs to fix everything, hold everyone, explain yourself, or prove your value. You are a child of light. You are a carrier of glory. You are my dwelling place. And I know this is hard to believe sometimes, especially after years of living under pressure, fear, and quiet resignation. But the lie of not enough is being broken now. I'm not waiting for you to reach another level before I call you whole. I call you whole now, even while you're still being restored, even while your voice still shakes. You are not disqualified by your fragility. You are distinguished by it. I'm close to the brokenhearted. Remember? I'm rebuilding you from the inside out. No more masks, no more roles, no more saying yes just to avoid disappointment. I want your real yes, and I want it from the real you. The strong one can rest now. The available one can set boundaries now. The prepared one can breathe now, because the called one is rising. Now that we've pulled off the masks, now that your real name is resurfacing, It's time to learn how to walk in this new rhythm, not by impulse, not by pressure, but by spiritual instruction, the kind that doesn't always feel exciting, but builds foundations that last. You've been asking me to do something new in you, and I'm answering that prayer. But newness in the kingdom is rarely just an event. It's a process, and process requires a pace. So let's begin with this. I'm calling you to intentional silence, not the kind forced by exhaustion or defeat, but the kind that creates room for me. Right now, you're surrounded by too many voices, some external, some internal. And while I'm not condemning you for listening, I am inviting you to refocus. I want you to fast from noise, not just literal volume, but informational clutter, emotional clutter, spiritual overload. You keep looking for clarity, but clarity flows where distraction has been cleared. It's time to make space again. Set aside time for me, not to check a box, but to host me. Light a candle. Turn off the notifications. Bring your whole self, even if you feel empty. I don't need eloquent prayers. I need your attention. Let your stillness become sanctuary. Even 10 undivided minutes with me will do more for your heart than an hour of scrolling through other people's revelations. You keep comparing what I'm doing in you to what I'm doing in others, but comparison is a thief of rhythm. What I'm doing in you is custom, sacred, personal. Next, I want you to begin practicing emotional honesty. You've been trained, sometimes even spiritually, to manage your feelings instead of expressing them to me. But I don't want curated conversation. I want communion. If you're angry, tell me. If you're tired, tell me. If you're discouraged, don't recite victory declarations to impress me. Bring me your fatigue. This is the altar where transformation begins. You don't need to fix yourself before you pray. Prayer is where the fixing happens. There's power in naming what you feel, not because I don't already know, but because you need to hear yourself bring it into the light. Every time you name the fear, the heaviness, the frustration, it loses some of its grip. That's how spiritual alignment begins, not with performance, but with truth. And truth always invites me in. Now let's talk about rhythm. You've been living in reaction, responding to needs, messages, tasks, and emotional urgencies the moment they rise. That may feel responsible, but it's unsustainable. I'm calling you to build sacred rhythm. Rhythm means choosing when to engage and when to pause. It means defining your day by purpose, not pressure. Start small. Mornings aren't just for coffee and survival, they're for commissioning. Wake up and ask me, "Where are we going today, Lord?" Let that be your first question. Not, "What do I have to do?" but what are you already doing? Let me set the tone before the world starts shouting. And in the evening, don't just collapse into distraction. Return to me. Reflect with me. Ask, "Where did I see you today? And where did I miss you?" Not as shame, but as intimacy. I'm not asking you to analyze your day like a report. I'm asking you to walk through it with me like a friend. Now I need you to notice something else. Your environment matters. Your space carries spiritual weight. What you tolerate in your surroundings either feeds your peace or fractures it. Start paying attention to what surrounds your soul. The clutter, the voices, the rhythms, even the music. These are not small things. They're forming atmosphere. And I want you to become someone who protects atmosphere like an altar. You don't need to live in isolation, but you do need to live in intention. Not every invitation is a divine assignment. Not every urgent message is sacred. Not every need is your responsibility. The Holy Spirit is not just your fire. He is your filter. Let Him filter your yes. Let Him teach you how to feel the weight of something before you take it on. You're stepping into a new kind of authority, and authority requires discernment. I'm not just giving you opportunities. I'm giving you keys. And keys don't open every door. They open specific ones. You don't need to knock everywhere, just where I'm already placing favor. Stop asking to be used everywhere. Ask to be placed where your oil is needed most. Lastly, I want you to remember this. Sacred rhythm is not about getting everything right. It's about staying tethered to me, and that can happen even on your worst days. The enemy will try to convince you that you're failing if you're not always energized, inspired, and spiritually on. But consistency doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes it looks like showing up tired, but still showing up. That's holy too. You don't need to manufacture momentum. Just follow my pace. Listen when I say pause. Obey when I say now. Trust when I say wait. There is movement even in the stillness. There is progress even in the pruning. There is deliverance even in the delay. You don't need a dramatic encounter to be transformed. You just need to keep walking. Slowly, steadily, with me. You felt it already, haven't you? The shift is no longer just internal. What I've been doing in you is beginning to move through you. The favor is real, and it's starting to find you, even in places you never expected. Doors are cracking open. Conversations are aligning. Provision is forming quietly behind the scenes. You thought breakthrough would come through striving, but it's coming through stillness and obedience. You thought visibility would come when you pushed, but it's coming because you yielded. This is the moment where inner healing becomes outer motion. I'm not just making you whole to comfort you, I'm making you whole to send you. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you, it needs a present one. And your presence, now healed and aligned, will begin to change the rooms I send you into. You won't even have to announce it. The atmosphere will shift simply because you're carrying peace I gave and the authority I formed. You've been asking for clarity on your assignment, and here it is. You are my ambassador of alignment. You don't need a stage to shift culture. You don't need a microphone to carry influence. You just need to show up, deeply rooted in me, refusing to shrink or perform. That's what disarms darkness. Not volume, not perfection, but presence. My presence flowing through someone who has stopped pretending and started believing. I'm restoring your confidence. Not arrogance, not image-based pride, but a holy confidence that comes from knowing you're not alone. You'll feel it in the little things first, words rising in your mouth that you didn't plan, but needed to be said. Peace holding you steady in situations that used to rattle you. Clarity about who to engage and when to withdraw. This is the fruit of surrender, not chaos. Clarity. The wilderness trained you, the silence shaped you, but now I'm releasing you. Not rushed, but released. Commissioned, sent, and you'll feel it as you go, not all at once, but like steps appearing under your feet as you take them. Don't wait for the full staircase. Obey the next step. That's where the oil flows. That's where the grace shows up, in motion. You've been tempted to go back to safe patterns, to keep rehearsing what worked in the last season. But this isn't a repetition, this is a release. You can't wear old garments in this new movement. You can't keep explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding your growth. You can love them, but you must obey me. This will require some separation. Not dramatic, not cruel, just honest. There are relationships I'm gently redefining, not because you're better, but because I'm building something that requires cleaner alignment. You can't carry revival while constantly managing old expectations. I'm pruning you again, but this time, you'll feel the freedom in it. It won't feel like loss, it will feel like breath, because I'm breathing on your voice, on your creativity, on your ability to discern timing. I'm activating dormant gifts. Some you've buried, some you forgot you ever had. You'll feel joy rise where shame used to live. You'll feel confidence in areas where you once froze in fear. These aren't emotional spikes. They're the result of deep spiritual restoration. And listen to me carefully. You won't need to convince anyone that you've changed. The fruit will speak. The peace will speak. The grace on your steps will speak. You are not responsible for their perception. You're responsible for your obedience. Keep walking. Keep saying yes, even when it feels small. Every yes is enlarging your capacity. Every act of obedience is sending a ripple through the territory I've assigned to you. This is a turning point. You're not just someone being restored. You're someone being positioned. I've gone before you. I'm surrounding you. And I'm placing favor in the hands of people who don't even know yet that they're going to bless you. I'm aligning resources. I'm preparing places. I'm unlocking provision. Because your obedience unlocked the timing. You thought you were waiting on me. But really, I was waiting on you. Not to be perfect, not to be fearless, just to be available. And now you are. You've been emptied of old lies and filled with truth. You've been healed of silent wounds and made ready to carry again. You are no longer in hiding. You are in position. And let me tell you what that means. Things are going to start responding to your voice. People will begin to sense there's more in you than what they see. Your prayers will carry weight they didn't before. Your words will land differently. Not because you studied harder, but because they now come from a healed place. You won't speak for validation. You'll speak from overflow. Get ready for me to move quickly, but not chaotically. I'll move with precision. I'll open just enough to keep you trusting, but never more than your character can carry. I'm still protecting you, even while I promote you. And this promotion is not about platform. It's about placement. You are being placed in divine alignment, and everything that flows from that place will carry my authority. Let me say it plainly. Your season of hiding is over. Your season of pretending is over. Your season of delay is over. I'm not holding anything back. You're not waiting on release. You are the release. Now that the shift has begun, I want you to understand how to stay in it. Not by maintaining a performance, but by maintaining connection. The release you're stepping into isn't meant to be a moment. It's meant to become your new rhythm. I didn't deliver you so you could return to striving. I delivered you so you could abide. This is the life I've been building you for, one where the Holy Spirit is not your emergency backup, but your constant breath. Let me teach you how to breathe again, slowly, deeply, with intention. This isn't about productivity, this is about presence. You've tried to carry my work without my rhythm, and it always left you burned out. But now you know better. Now you can feel it when you drift. You notice when peace begins to fade. That's not failure, it's awareness. That's what discernment feels like when it matures. You feel the absence of my peace before anything else breaks. And here's the key. Don't wait for crisis to return to intimacy. Let my spirit be your breath, not your last resort. Let me be your first pause, your first conversation, your first alignment point. Even in moments that feel too small to matter, bring me in. I care about the tone of your voice, the thoughts you let sit too long, the glances you give yourself in the mirror. I care about the pacing of your days, the atmosphere of your room, the weight of your sighs. These are not too small for me. These are where I dwell. The Holy Spirit is not a cloud of power to call on in front of crowds. He is a counselor, a companion, a comforter, and He is within you, not visiting you, indwelling you. And if you'll begin to live from that awareness, everything will shift again. You won't burn out from trying to maintain breakthrough, because you'll stop trying to maintain it altogether. You'll start abiding instead. This is your invitation to live as someone who is never outside of my presence. Not when you speak, not when you work, not when you rest. You were made to move in step with me. You don't have to chase momentum. You were built for flow, and flow only comes when you let me lead, even in the smallest of things. That moment when you want to react, pause and breathe me in. That decision you're unsure about, don't default to logic, default to communion. That invitation that seems good, don't just assess it for opportunity. Weigh it in the spirit, because not every open door leads to alignment. But my spirit knows the difference. You've reached a point now where you're ready to be led at a new level, not by what looks right, but by what feels aligned. That's the maturity I've been building in you. That's why I've allowed you to feel tension, even in places that look like favor. It's not because you're ungrateful. It's because your spirit has become trained to sense what doesn't match your mission. And now, I want you to trust that sensitivity. It's not weakness. It's how I lead you. From here on, the key to your fruitfulness will not be how much you do. It will be how well you stay in me. Your power is in your abiding. That's how Jesus lived, and that's how I'm calling you to live. Moment by moment, heart aligned. No longer driven by external pressure, but moved by internal presence. And when you drift, and you will because you're human, don't spiral into shame. Return quickly, softly, gently. I will never be far. I've made my home in you. You don't need to earn your way back to me. You only need to remember, I'm already here. Let this truth become your root. You never leave my presence. You only lose awareness of it. But now, that awareness is becoming natural, familiar, daily. This is maturity. This is peace. This is what it means to walk in step with the Spirit. So stop reaching for intensity and start reaching for continuity. I'm not looking for your high moments. I'm after your consistent yes, even in the silence, even in the mundane, even when no one notices. That's where glory dwells, in the hidden yes, the daily surrender, the gentle recalibration. Let me be the first voice you hear when you wake, and the last one you listen to as the day closes. Let me be the rhythm in your footsteps, the strength in your pauses, the fire in your whispers. You don't need to conjure a feeling, you only need to stay connected. You've been anointed to remain, not just to rise and fall with seasons, not just to shine in short bursts, but to remain in me, and let me remain in you. That's where the fruit multiplies. That's where the calling lasts. That's where you are transformed without even striving. This is how we sustain the release. Through rhythm, through breath, through me. You've come full circle now. Not back to where you began, but to who you've always been. And can you feel it? Not just the absence of fear, but the presence of clarity. The fog has lifted. The old narrative has lost its grip. The ache hasn't vanished completely, but it's no longer running the story. You're no longer living from delay, you're living from decision. And that decision is changing everything. You chose to believe me, even when your emotions hesitated, even when your logic argued, even when the enemy shouted. You chose to believe that I meant what I said, that you are ready now, even if you don't feel it. And the belief has opened a gate that no man can shut. You didn't force your way through. You walked through with me. And now that you're through the threshold, I want you to look back for a moment. Not in regret, but in recognition. See how far you've come. See how many lies have been broken. See how much strength you've gained. Not through proving yourself, but through letting go. You let go of roles that weren't yours. You let go of pressure that was never holy. You let go of timelines that I never gave you. And in their place, I've placed something far better. Truth and peace and permission. You don't need to apologize for the fire I've lit in you. You don't need to over-explain the stillness I've called you into. You don't need to ask for permission to follow where my spirit is leading. You've been authorized, not by title or platform, but by presence. Mine. So now I send you not just to work, but to walk, not just to accomplish, but to abide. You'll carry this rhythm into rooms that don't know peace yet. You'll carry this presence into places that are still full of striving. You'll bring my voice where confusion still reigns. And you'll do it all without fanfare, without striving, without apology. You are not a reaction. You are a response. You are not scrambling. You are sent. You are not waiting. You are walking. This is not a test. This is a commissioning. And I am not a far-off commander. I am the breath in your lungs, the strength in your stillness, the voice in your silence. I am Emmanuel, God with you. So go now, not to perform, but to participate, not to impress, but to release, not to prove your readiness, but to live it. The world doesn't need another perfect person. The world needs someone who has been with me, and you have. Let your steps be slow but sure. Let your voice be gentle but bold. Let your decisions be small but anointed. Let your joy be quiet but steady. These are the signs of someone who walks in step with me. These are the signs of someone who knows they are ready. And when doubt tries to return, and it will, don't argue with it. Just return to me. I'm still here. I'll always be here. And I'll remind you again, as many times as you need, you're ready now, even if you don't feel it. You've been released, amen. If something in these words awakened what you thought had gone quiet, don't rush past it. Let this be a sacred moment. And if you need to return to it later, do. My voice is waiting there too. You're not alone in this. And someone else might need this echo. Share it.